Today we're going to talk about virtual payment cards. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I just told the class a little anecdote about why I hesitate to use my cards sometimes, but I talked about it in person, an in-person purchase. But why do these payments matter online when we want to have a private payment card for online? And we buy most of us buy everything online. I know there's sort of the joke amongst my friends, like, what did you get in Amazon today? Where oftentimes we're getting Amazon packages on a regular or daily basis. Or the joke in my house, because between my wife and kids and I all ordering stuff, a package shows up and we're like, oh, I wonder what we got now. No idea. 3 packages just showed up and one of them's for me. But every time you go online and make a purchase, you have to hand over your data to the site. And so when I'm shopping at Amazon.com, I trust Amazon.com. They have a credit card. I know they're going to do their best to take care of that. They get a lot of my business. I don't worry about them. But what about other sites? What about sites that I've never been to, or I don't know them, or I'm not sure if I trust them yet? I might not want to give them my credit card number, because if my credit card number is stolen or lost, I have to change it. And that means everything tied to the credit card. So for example, let's say that I use my credit card at a website, it somehow my credit card gets stolen, I change my credit card. Now when I go make an Amazon purchase, Amazon says, hey, your credit card details are wrong, and I have to go update it. It's a hassle, but it's also the data's being sold and bartered and stolen all over the web. It's used against us in many, many ways. So I have to ask myself, do I trust this site? Do I want this website to have my financial information? When this website gets breached, does it matter if they have my information or not? I decide I really don't want most of those sites to have it. So I give up a little bit of convenience online and I get a few other benefits. So what is actually the problem when you're buying online? Yes, they want your details. So that's your name. You can't use your fake name with a credit card because they have to go back and check with MasterCard or Visa or Amex, and the name has to match. They're going to have that 16-digit number that says, oh, this is a MasterCard. You can't change that because they're going to be checking that number. You have to have the date. You have to have that CVV code. And all of that data has to be saved by the merchant for some length of time. So that critical data is what gets lost. When you're using a virtual card, the concept here, we're going to put up a wall that protects you. So it doesn't say Sable on that card. It could say Sable. It might be okay to say Sable, but I could very much just put George. The virtual card doesn't care. And actually, I often do put a weird name. I put a fake name. When I buy from the coffee place, I put Coffee Lover. For instance, they have me down as Coffee Lover. When I create that virtual card, there's a brand new 16-digit card number, a brand new expiration date, a brand new CVV number just for that card. And when it goes online, it can check, is that card allowed to be used? Are the rules set for that card? What is it that we really need to authorize this payment? So the merchant with the website that you go to, they get the details for the card that you made up, and they don't really know who you are, and they don't need to know. Of course, the service, like I'm using privacy.com, and that's what we'll talk about after this video for the demo. They have to know who I am because we have these know your customer rules in the US, KYC. But it doesn't matter if, random site X, or I want to buy some hobby shop cards for my kid. They don't need to know anything. They just need to get paid and then ship me some info. So you have a few controls, and this is where it gets really interesting for me. You can say this card can only be used one time, and then that credit card that you created after the first purchase is authorized will just automatically close. Maybe within an hour or a few hours, maybe a day, it'll just close, and only one transaction was allowed. You could lock it to a specific merchant. Say, here's my credit card, it's just for Amazon, and only Amazon can charge it. And if somebody steals it from Amazon and they try to charge it, it will deny that purchase, even if they have the 16-digit card number correct and the date and the CVV. That CVV is only necessary when the card isn't present, so we use it all the time online. So you can lock it and say only Netflix can use this card, only Disney Plus can use this card. And then you have another control. I love this. You can say this card is only available for $10 per purchase, or $10 per month, or $10 ever. You can only ever charge $10. And then the merchant behind the card will decline any purchases that don't match. So if you said this is for Amazon and you can only spend $500 in a month, when you go to make that purchase that's going to take you over $500, it will decline the purchase to Amazon because that's a limit that you set. I like locking these cards to subscriptions. So for example, I had an HBO Max subscription, and then it was over $18 or something. I made a privacy card for it. And then I went to HBO to cancel, and it wasn't canceling. I don't know why their website wasn't canceling. I just turned the card off. They tried to charge me money even though it wouldn't cancel, and it was declined. So they canceled my account for me. How nice was that? So once you have your site, and there's a few different ways to do this. I'm only focusing on one, but you'll see others. I'll show you a couple to consider. You create your virtual card, you set those rules. And those rules, this is what I love about it. The merchant locked, I mentioned, the total limit. You can also, with some of the services, you can create a card and say, here's a card for $20, right? My kid wants to go buy something, he needs a credit card. Here's a credit card that has $20 on it. Go ahead and make that purchase online. And it doesn't matter if it costs $17 because he only spends that $17, but I can give him the credit card to use, or I can share a special card, that's not our main credit card with my wife. Here, use this for that subscription. And I can give it to her in her name. It's kind of nice. I've gotten used to it. So what happens with privacy.com, you either have your bank account linked and they do ACH debits, or you link a debit card and they use the debit card. KYC is know your customer. Those are the rules, the laws in the US where the bank or the financial provider, they need to have your information. They need to have your probably your driver's license or your social security number. They have to be able to identify you. And there's similar laws all over the world about knowing who the payment person is, but it's all to help fight fraud. So you can either have a debit card tied to it like you can with Venmo, or you link your bank directly. And a lot of times Cash App or Venmo or Privacy, they'll use a third-party service called Plaid. Or there's a couple that are like this. And those financial data aggregators, they sit in the middle, and they're the ones that make the link between your app like Venmo and then US Bank, or between privacy.com and your credit union. And you would use something like Plaid to sign in and be that go-between. So if you use the debit card, I don't think it uses Plaid. If you have your account locked down at your bank, you may not be able to use Plaid. I know I had an issue with the Cash App where Plaid couldn't connect to my bank, so I had to do routing and account number manually and then verify it through some purchases. It was a big hassle, but it was worth it for me to know that my account was protected. So what does that know your customer? I got it on the slide here for you. They have to follow the rules. So if you're using privacy.com, for instance, they have to know who you are. So you can't hide your online payment unless you're using prepaid cards. But I'm okay trusting one company and spending the time to get to know one company and then not giving my information to everybody else. So there is a little balance. It's not completely unidentifiable private payment. The only way you can pay for things privately is if you pay in cash. Nothing else is private. Everything else can be traced. Even if you use cash at a 7-Eleven to buy prepaid cards, they can track prepaid cards back to the 7-Eleven that you bought it at and look at the video footage. So really, you got to pay somebody in cash if you want it to be private. So we're trying to find a balance. And we're not doing illegal activities here, so it's not necessarily what we're afraid of being identified. We just don't want our stuff stolen by bad guys because it's a hassle for us. One question that comes up is, well, what's the difference between using a virtual payment card versus Apple Pay? Apple Pay also creates a tokenized number of your credit card and it doesn't give the merchant your real number. It creates a new number every time you use it. So you're protected when you're using Apple Pay or Google Pay. I just made one slide. They're very, very similar. You can trust your Google Pay on your Android phone, but that's really when you're in person. You're at the store, you go to tap your phone. I really prefer that way, tapping my phone while I'm there. That's a great way to make local payments and have some protection over your personal data. But it doesn't always work for you online. Sometimes you can use Apple Pay online. It's tied to your phone, or you got to use your Safari on your Mac, or there's always some kind of a limitation. Same with Google Pay. You got to be in Chrome. You have to be signed in. There's a bunch of different steps that have to occur if you're not just tapping your phone at the store. So I like to use Apple Pay in the store. I like to use my virtual payment cards online, but Apple Pay doesn't let you have burner numbers because everything is one-time use. It doesn't let you lock things to a merchant because it's a different problem that they're solving. So when you have an account set up, and we'll go over this on the after the video, I'll show you screenshots step by step. You go make a new card. All right, I got a new card. Bang. Is it going to be a one-time use or merchant locked? Or am I going to have a spending limit? Is it a permanent card? What are the rules? You can have whatever you choose there. I'm going to have a merchant locked card for $20 a month, or I used to set it for, I think it was $15 for Netflix. Netflix used to cost under $15. And then one day I got an email from Netflix saying that my payment was declined, and I went to look and they had upped their prices and didn't tell me. My gym also did this. I had set my gym up to be able to take $24 or $25 a month, and they bumped up to $27.99 a month and never told me, and they got a decline. They started giving me a hard time about it, and I said, hey, you changed the price. I only authorized you $25. I didn't authorize you $28. You should tell me before that happens. It's really difficult to tell somebody in person that you only authorize them $25 because nobody understands this at all. You're even looking at me like, what are you talking about? Don't worry, I'll show you screenshots later. So you set the rules, and then when you go to pay online, you either type in the card, the virtual card information, it only takes a moment, or you might install the plugin. Privacy has a plugin that you can use to quickly create the card, and it will autofill for you. It's very nice. It's very easy. Cards aren't hard to type in, but it is 16 numbers, and it could take you a minute or two. Depends on how many times you use it. So why bother? What's the point? For me, I like to have my cards protected, my actual information is protected. I have control over those subscriptions. I can set limits for merchants. I actually like the reports that I get that shows me how much I'm spending on things. It's interesting, but I can also take any card that I've made, and I at this point I probably have hundreds of them, and I can pause them or just close them right away. I can just, oh, I don't want that card in use anymore. Boom, it's disabled. And I can go and look in the history. For example, when the gym raised my membership fees, I said to them, I said, I've paid you $2,700 since I joined. You could have sent me an email to tell me you were going to raise the price. And the guy looked at me like, how do you know that? And I just showed him my privacy card that gives me the total of everything we'd ever spent. So I like those benefits, and I'm willing to give up, this much of a hassle in order to get those. The other good use case, like let's say you sign up for a free trial of something and you know they're going to charge you later. You give them a one-time use card and then you just close it. You just turn it off. They can never charge it again. I always use it for my subscriptions, HBO, Netflix, Disney, whatever. Anything where you're really not familiar, you don't think you want to have your card there all the time. Yeah. And then if, let's say, you're shopping at Walmart.com, you give them a private number, and Walmart.com is using a third-party merchant, and that merchant is selling your data, you only lost that one privacy card and not your main golden ticket credit card. So I just want to point out again, it doesn't make you anonymous if something is going wrong, as in somehow your information is being used for something illegal, which we wouldn't do, but maybe somebody adjacent to us would. Somebody somehow gets a hold of your information, they can still go to Privacy or Cloaked or MySudo and say who is the person, and they can still show up at your house if they need to. And then the merchants, they still know all your details. Like Amazon still knows everything that I buy. They know who I am. I have a many, many, many years of history of buying things. They just don't have my billing information. So it's not a panacea. All right, and this is just a review of all the things. And I just want to point out, when you're shopping online, you can choose, when you have a virtual card, a different name. You don't have to put your own name. And this is something that I really like to do. So I like to buy my coffee beans to roast. And there's two sets of information when you're buying something online. And I think this doesn't come across very clearly in other cases. One is they need to have your payment information. What is your billing address and your payment information? And the merchant, everybody that sells things online, they have to save some of that information for some amount of time for auditing. And then you have your shipping information. So the shipping information, obviously you want that to be somewhere where you're going to receive your package. If you're having something sent to you, maybe it's your P.O. box, maybe it's your house, maybe it's the neighbor's house. You want to be able to get your package, so the shipping information has to be correct. But what bad guys are going to try and steal shipping information? They want the billing information. So you have a privacy card. You can put any address you want for the billing information. I've many times used a hotel a couple blocks away from here as my address. And oftentimes I'll use my P.O. box because the things that I do online are legitimate and I want to be able to follow up on. And if I picked a random address for everything that I went and bought stuff for, I would never be able to go back and say, oh yeah, my billing address is 1234 Main Street. But with that private card, the billing information, which is separate from your shipping information, that's what we usually lose. So you can use
Kailangan ko magpapagasolina na ako kasi kung
not your home address, and you can use not your real name, because that company just wants your money. I'm just muting you because there was a loud noise over there, Gina. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Virtual cards and that privacy layer, that brick wall that goes between your real information and the merchant to help reduce your exposure of your real information should something go wrong, with all the tools that you get for paying online. So with that, I say thank you, and I'll take questions right after the video.